film is Huesera, the Bone Woman, directed by Michelle Garza Cervera, starring Natalia Solian, Alfonso Dosal, and Maria Battaglia. It is a Spanish language film. And I'm going to be honest, this film really made me think. The ending was a little uncomfortable for me and really forced me to think about the biases that I hold regarding motherhood. The story begins with Valeria or Val with her mother and her aunt at this, immense icon. They're at this outdoor sort of, Catholic setting, and they are praying to the Virgin Mother that Val will conceive. But there's this sort of like underhanded comments from her family and from her in-laws and her husband about her capability of being a mother. Val is not incredibly maternal. Um, but she does become pregnant, and during her pregnancy she sees this sort of creature, demon, that she thinks breaks into her house, is reaching for her while she's sleeping, and Val herself starts showing little signs of possession, and you'll see her cracking her knuckles, and that's sort of the indication of the possession. I wish there had been more of this in the film because it was really creepy, but it was used very, very sparingly. And I wanted more of that creepiness. Instead, the film really focused more on Val's journey from a young, rebellious girl who ran through the streets with her friends saying, I don't like domestication, I hate domestication, into this wife, expectant mother who is doing what she thinks she should be doing, not necessarily what she wants to be doing. The film really focuses on the body horror of pregnancy, which was a nice touch. I mean, it's the one time in your life when your body really is literally not your own. You're not inhabiting it by yourself. There's somebody else in there who needs it as well. The same thing when after you're nursing the child. And they go into that a little bit after the birth, her seemingly reluctance to nurse the baby. A couple of things that were interesting to me. There is some sense of witchcraft going on in this film. Val goes back to her former girlfriend at parts of the film, and that seems to be where she is happy with her. Her aunt, who is sort of considered a misfit in the family, also seems to have a girlfriend on the side as well that the family might not really be aware of. The demon that I'm talking about doesn't necessarily seem to be evil. It almost seems to be a necessary piece of the puzzle to help Val understand who she really is and to separate herself from the pressures of her family and the pressures of her society. So that's an interesting take. But again, I wanted more creepiness from the creature and from the demon. Again, I was uncomfortable at the ending, but I think that was meant to be. It was meant to sort of shine a light on the expectations that we have, that women will embrace motherhood and want that, and that there might, I'm not saying there is something wrong. I'm saying socially, society looks at women who say, I don't want to be a mother, or I don't feel that kind of attachment. They look at that as strange or negative or perverse, and it's not. So the ending of the film really made me look at my own biases in that sense. The one issue that I did have with the film is it felt as if they were saying there are only two paths for women. You can either be that traditional domesticated woman or you can be the rebellious, artistic, creative woman. There's no way those paths can meet. At least that's the way I saw it, and I would respectfully disagree with that perspective. Today's featured a pregnant woman who is not being believed by those around her, and it, holds with that trope that we saw in Rosemary's Baby and made me think about the current season of American Horror Story, Delicate. I'm not going to go into Delicate too much. It's just begun. So far, I'm not thrilled, but I'm hoping it gets better. Instead, I'm going to spend my time ranking the prior seasons, not including Delicate, in order to be fair. Let's give it time to play out. I'm going to go from least favorite to most favorite. Least favorite was Roanoke. I couldn't even get through it. I have no idea what happened. I had to walk away from it. I just thought it was stupid. Second to least favorite was Hotel. And the only reason why it's not my least favorite is because of the Halloween episode with the serial killer dinner, which was super cool and was one of my favorite Halloween episodes of the series. I was not thrilled with Gaga like everyone else was, because I've watched The Hunger. I've seen Catherine Deneuve, and she was just doing a very poor impersonation of Catherine Deneuve. We've already seen it. I honestly did not watch all the episodes of Hotel because I found it very boring, and I just could not get into it. Number 9 then, in descending order, would be Apocalypse, which thought a lot of itself, but contributed very little. It was a mess. I did like to see Evan Peters, though, as the hairdresser. Most of my likes are about Evan Peters, to be honest. Let's just be honest. Number 8 was NYC. Zachary Quinto was awesome, and he kept me engaged. The acting was not bad, but I felt like it was a lot of soapbox posturing, just like Glee ended up being, where I felt like it was aiming toward people that I'm not those people. I'm not the audience for who it was talking to. Double Feature was number 7. I didn't watch the second half of Double Feature. I couldn't get into it. I did watch the first one. I was a Cape Codder for decades, so there were things that were resonated for me. I do like Finn Wittock a lot. But the only really saving grace of that season was Evan Peters and Drag. I really like that. Freak Show started out promising. There were a lot of cool directions they could have gone with it, and it just dragged. And it was my least favorite Evan Peters character of all the series. It was really just sad and depressing, although we did get Twisty the Clown, which was a really awesome character. And we had Finn Wittock running around in his underwear a lot, being Dandy, and Dandy was amazing. Dandy was one of my favorites. So that's really what kind of kept it from falling in the bottom half of the list of series. 5 was Coven, which again, I loved the first couple episodes. I was like, this is going to go in such cool places, and it didn't. It became really, really stupid and really difficult to watch. I love my Stevie Nicks, so I did love Misty, but otherwise I found it very, very boring. Cult ended up being number 4, and it took me 2 tries. I started to watch Cult, walked away from it, then I was, coaxed into watching it again, and I really enjoyed it. I was afraid it was going to be very heavy-handed in terms of politics, and very, left-leaning and very much against the right, which politically that's where I am, but I always liked a fair perspective, and I felt like it did provide a fair perspective in showing the political dangers of both sides. So I really liked that. That's why it came in at number 4. 3 was Asylum. Really, really good season, but too much. They threw everything in but the kitchen sink. I could have done without the aliens in that one. I feel like Asylum would have been enough. Just the asylum and the church and everything would have carried it really well and been focused. Number two, 1984. And that's because I am a slasher fan. I love 80s slashers. That's what I grew up on. It was super nostalgic for me. I had a lot of fun with it. The guy who played Richard Ramirez was awesome. We had a, sort of Twisty the Clown again. I really, really enjoyed 1984. I thought it was a ton of fun. And then number one is Murder House, probably because it was new at the time. It was exciting to see this kind of television being made. And it really has a nice cohesive storyline. I hate the school shooter storyline, but otherwise I really enjoy everything about Murder House.